Hello, my friends. Today we're going to be discussing a topic that I really wasn't planning on making an entire video on, but when I did my last Q&A, I got so many questions that I figured we might as well dedicate an entire video talking about this idea of quiet luxury, which I'm pretty sure you're going to be familiar with the general idea of the trend because it seems to be everywhere anytime I open social media or I get a newsletter from one of my favorite retailers. Quiet luxury is everywhere. So even though I'm sure you're familiar with the idea, I wanted to share my take and my thoughts on this aesthetic because to me, quiet luxury is an aesthetic, it's an approach rather than a seasonal trend. And I also wanted to discuss with you some of my favorite quiet luxury brands or ambassadors and which pieces to start with in case it's an aesthetic that appeals to you. So without further ado, if you'd like to hear my honest thoughts on quiet luxury and whether or not it's worth the hype, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and please do jump into the conversation. I want it to be a conversation and not just me talking at you. I cannot wait to hear your take and your thoughts on quiet luxury and what it means to you. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. Now, let's be honest, quiet luxury is really nothing new. It's an aesthetic and it's an approach to dressing that has been around for a really long time. It's just been given a new it's kind of been rebranded and it's been given a new elitist name. But what quiet luxury is it's kind of the antithesis of fast fashion, of logomania, of chasing trends, and trying to follow the crowd. Quiet luxury is all about quality over quantity. It's about investing in pieces that will last a lifetime. It's not about seasonal trends. It's not about trying to communicate and show something that you are actually not, which I think is what people get extremely wrong about this trend. It has nothing to do with you looking rich, looking like someone who has a lot of money or someone who doesn't have any money. I don't think quiet luxury has anything to do with any one of these things. It is just purely an aesthetic. It's an appreciation for fine fabrics, beautiful tailoring, refined lines, and pieces that make you look and feel put together without trying too hard. To me, quiet luxury is really just effortless elegance at its very best. And even though it's an aesthetic that I personally appreciate, I mean, you guys know me, I'm all about understated, classic, simple, timeless pieces that if you choose wisely will last a lifetime, which quiet luxury is a lot about longevity and investing in the right pieces that will last a really long time and really spending your money wisely. It's not about showing off, it's not about proving anything to anyone. It's simply a more simplistic and just perhaps a smarter way of spending. Instead of buying things seasonally, you invest in pieces that you know will last, pieces that speak for themselves. But one thing that I think people get really wrong about quiet luxury is that it is the look that everyone should aspire to, because it is the look for rich people. I don't think that there is a certain look for people with old money and new money. I don't think that people with money or people without have a certain look. I don't think that there is this template that you can just take, put it on yourself and immediately look rich, classy, elegant, or feel superior because you're wearing a certain brand. So the reason I wouldn't consider quiet luxury a trend is because trends usually stick around for a season or two, whereas quiet luxury is all about longevity. It's all about investing in pieces that are well thought out, that are beautifully designed, and that were made to last, pieces that are understated, classic, elegant, and timeless. But quiet luxury should not be confused with classic pieces, because let's take a classic fashion piece. Something like the Chanel Classic Flap, which might be a classic piece, but it doesn't mean that it is a quiet piece. A Chanel Classic Flap or even a Birkin at this point is so well known that it is anything but quiet. So those are not pieces that I would consider a quiet luxury piece, even though they're classic flagship pieces. They won't really go out of style anytime soon. That doesn't mean that they are quiet and they are understated enough, at least not at this point, to be considered one of those pieces that I would invest in if you are trying to build a collection that is just kind of a whisper, something that whispers rather than screams and shout. And then another term that is really often confused or used interchangeably with quiet luxury is minimalism, which are not one and the same. Yes, there are brands that are both minimalist and are considered a quiet luxury brand, but I don't think that they are the exact same thing. But speaking of minimalism, let's jump into talking about some of the brands that I would consider a quiet luxury brand, brands that put quality first over quantity, brands that are, some of them are more recognizable than others, but they are not in your face, they are not over the top, and that whisper rather than shout. And the first brand, in case you have a more minimal approach, if you appreciate minimal lines and pieces that are well constructed and you know will last a really long time, of course the Loro is a brand that you won't be disappointed in. If you've been following me for a while, you will need no introduction to the Loro, which is actually a contemporary brand, but a brand that has become a staple in a lot of people's wardrobes. And I would say that there's a lot from the Loro that you can invest in, but there are also some things that I would personally not put my money into. If you like the Loro and if you appreciate more of a quiet approach to fashion, there are certain things that are worth investing in. I would say that the Loro does some of the most incredible pants. If you like classic tailored trousers, if you like trousers that do look like $1,000,000 without them looking just a little bit too over the top, the Loro is a great brand to turn to. I also love their knit pieces. If you would like to buy knit pieces that are classic but have a little bit of a twist to them, something that makes them feel just a little bit fresher, a little bit younger, and a little bit more unique, the Loro is also a great brand to turn to. Now, one thing that I personally wouldn't buy from the Loro, or things that I have been disappointed in, are their t-shirts and their jeans. I think their basics are just a little bit overpriced for what they are. They are not nearly as flattering as some of the other pieces that we'll move on to. It doesn't mean that they don't feature beautiful details, which is what quiet luxury is all about. It's all about these little details that make these pieces look and feel luxurious. I'm not saying that they're not nicely done, but I think you can do a lot better. So their t-shirts and jeans are just not something that I was blown away by. And there was a point in time when I didn't really like their bags either. I just didn't feel that the quality was where it should have been for the price, even though I always appreciated the designs. I had some quality concerns, but I do think that their newer bags are getting better and better each season. So if you're looking for a younger, fresher, more contemporary take on classic timeless pieces, the Loro is definitely a brand that I would highly suggest that you explore. Moving from a contemporary brand to some brands that have been around a lot longer, I mean a lot longer than this idea of quiet luxury. And why don't we start with one that has been around, I think since the 1970s, which is Brunello Cucinelli. Brunello Cucinelli is kind of a household name at this point. It is an Italian house that is incredibly well known for its cashmere creations. In fact, Brunello Cucinelli was the first brand who started dyeing cashmere. Prior to that, cashmere was only really available in the natural color of the fiber. They were the first brand who started offering cashmere pieces in some more vivid, colorful shades, and it's something that they still do to this day. And yes, Brunello Cucinelli has some incredible cashmere pieces, and it is what they are most well known for. I don't think it is what I would buy from the brand first. I personally, even though I do like Brunello Cucinelli and their quality is just outstanding, there's one thing I don't love about this brand, which is their use of sequin. Most, if not all, of their women's pieces feature some sort of a sequin or some sort of a sparkle, which I personally don't think is the most refined. So if you're going to buy a Cucinelli piece, please make sure that it doesn't have any sequins, which is going to be tough to find for women. But I mean, their men's collection is unisex. You can buy from either one of their departments, but that is just something that I wanted to point out when it comes to cashmere pieces. Even though their quality is as incredible as it gets, some of their design choices leave me wanting more. To me, anything with sequins or sparkles automatically looks just a little cheap, and unfortunately Brunello Cucinelli is no exception. But that doesn't mean that there are no pieces that I love from the brand. I happen to adore their jeans. A friend of mine introduced me to their jeans a couple of years ago or a year ago at this point, and I have not stopped buying them since. I do think that Brunello Cucinelli jeans are some of the best out there, especially if you appreciate a skinny fit. And I'm not talking about the skinny fit that we used to wear in high school, but grown-up skinny fit. If you like taper jeans, jeans that are incredibly flattering, jeans that elongate your legs, Brunello Cucinelli is the best brand to go to. They have the right amount of stretch, they hold their shape beautifully, they wash well, they come in a ton of different shades, and I do think that Brunello Cucinelli jeans are some of the best out there, unless you're looking for black jeans, because yes, they do black jeans, but I don't think their black jeans are as good as Saint Laurent's jeans. But if you're looking for an actual denim pair of jeans, Brunello Cucinelli is a brand that you cannot go wrong with. I also love their basic t-shirts. Again, you have to be careful because some of their t-shirts for women will feature sequins, which again, I would not recommend, but I do like their classic, I think it's a silk jersey blend t-shirt that they do for men. Some of their men's t-shirts will have a little embroidery on them, which, I mean, it's fine. It's nothing over the top, but I do prefer their more understated pieces, especially because we are talking about quiet luxury here. So we want to try to avoid logos as much as possible, even if it's not as obvious as something like a double G from Gucci would be. And from Brunello Cucinelli, I also really like their knitted sneakers, which is not my personal aesthetic, but if you're looking for something incredibly comfortable, yet quite stylish, Brunello Cucinelli does offer some really cool knitted sneakers. And another iconic Italian house which has had a cult following for the past almost 100 years is Loro Piana. Loro Piana started out in the 1920s, creating some of the finest, most beautifully made fabrics, and believe it or not, they to this day create some extremely high-end fabrics that not only Loro Piana, the brand, uses, but they also offer it at wholesale, so they allow other brands to use their incredible fabrics, but they do keep the best of the best for themselves, which I will have a Loro Piana brand deep dive coming up shortly, and I will discuss all their exclusive fabrics, which some of their fibers cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for the most simple basic designs. So we will discuss all of that. But a quick introduction to Loro Piana, what would I start with? I do again love Loro Piana's basics. I love their t-shirts. This t-shirt that I'm wearing is a Loro Piana t-shirt, which I love. They do offer some of the most beautiful colors, both for men and women. One issue that I have, not only with Loro Piana, but most Italian brands, is that they don't offer, or rarely if ever offer, pieces in black. They're darkest shade is usually a dark gray or a dark navy blue. But if you like a beautiful vivid color, something that's not over the top but is beautifully saturated and looks like $1,000,000, Loro Piana is a great brand to turn to. A lot of people do love their jeans. They have a pair of jeans that is quite popular, which I think are called the New York. I personally am not a fan, but I do love their leather pieces. If you are looking for a really simple understated bag, something that speaks for itself without any sort of obvious branding, Loro Piana has some incredible classic creations, which I really don't hear too many people discussing, and I'm not exactly sure why that is, but they do have some incredible bags. And similar to Brunello Cucinelli, Loro Piana is a brand that is extremely well known for its knit pieces. And I have to be honest, I wouldn't buy a chunky knit from Loro Piana, not because the quality isn't outstanding, but purely because a lot of them feature different patterns, which I just don't particularly love. So I would probably go for their so-called baby cashmere pieces, which are just some of the softest, most buttery fabrics that you will ever feel. They offer them in a ton of different colors, a ton of different fits, and they are, I mean, I'm not gonna say that they're reasonably priced, but compared to some of their exclusive fibers, they are a lot more attainable. Not that you cannot find similar quality from other brands, but if you want to go for the best of the best, Loro Piana's baby cashmere is definitely something that I would love to put on your radar. Their shoes are also quite comfortable. Some people say that they are some of the most comfortable shoes out there, but one thing that I would definitely not buy from Loro Piana, especially if you are trying to embrace this quiet luxury idea, please do not get Loro Piana's most famous shoes, which are called the summer and open walk shoes, or I think for women they call them the charm walk, which are kind of what the classic flap is to Chanel and the Birkin is to Hermes, they are some of their most popular and most coveted pieces, so much so that at this point there's a waiting list for them. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the original design, but I think what they represent at this point is the antithesis of quiet luxury. A ton of people started buying them because they felt it was a status symbol. It showed that they could afford to spend all this money on these really simple basic loafers. So I think they're an acquired taste. Do they look great on some people? Yes, they do. But I personally think that you can do just so much better with the kind of money that these would cost you. They are everywhere, and I'm not saying that everyone has the real thing, but there are so many dupes and so many replicas that they do feel kind of overdone. If you're a fan of exquisitely tailored pieces, Tom Ford is a brand that you cannot go wrong with, and it's a brand that does offer some more mainstream, more loud pieces, but when it comes to their classic, simple, understated but beautifully structured tailoring pieces, you cannot go wrong with Tom Ford. The quality, the craftsmanship is just purely outstanding. And then another brand that's similar to Tom Ford also offers some more trendy pieces is Bottega. Now, I'm not saying that everything that Bottega does is quiet luxury, but I think if you are trying to think ahead, if you're trying to invest in pieces that are beautifully made and that won't go out of style, buying larger bags from Bottega is a great investment. So things like the large Kaba tote bag, I adore. Those are things that I don't see going out of fashion anytime soon. And yes, obviously at this point, more and more people are familiar with the iconic woven effect that Bottega is able to do. I think getting them in a large size just makes them feel a little bit more refined, a little bit more mature perhaps, and the same goes for the Jodie bag. While I would never ever recommend that you buy a small Jodie bag, getting a Jodie bag in the largest size, I think there's something extremely elegant about that. And please do not underestimate Bottega's ready to wear. Yes, they do some more in your face, more over the top pieces, but if you're looking for exceptionally tailored pieces, beautiful cuts, unique finishes and fabrics, and pieces that have a ton of attention to details, Bottega, I think, has quite a bit in store for you. My friends, this is everything that I had to say about quiet luxury. These are my honest thoughts on this aesthetic and some of my favorite quiet luxury brands and pieces. I cannot wait to hear what you have to say in the comment section. What's your take on this trend? Do you agree with my thoughts? Do you disagree? It is perfectly fine if you do. I cannot wait to read your take. And while you're down there, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I really appreciate you being here and watching, and I hope to see you back here with a new video really soon.